desperate times, conscripted criminals refill our ranks. Sometimes, however, you find a diamond in the rough. The most elite earn their name. Conquerors. Strong as a battering ram. Resilient as a fortress gate. Their flail is as dangerous to the wielder as it is to the enemy. But in the right hands, it becomes unstoppable.
You know, when it comes to Conqueror, I'll be real honest, I wasn't a big fan. The design never really jumped out at me, and I was even less interested in the weapon. I'll talk more about that when I discuss arms and armor, though. For what he is, the Conqueror stands as a battering ram. As the trailer indicated, the Conqueror is a former criminal who was given a chance to redeem himself in battle. But when I think of the Conquerors, I think of two types of people. You either got the vicious and faithless man and woman who only fights to satisfy their need to fight and not be imprisoned, and the other version is a truly penitent individual who wishes to redeem themselves and prove their devotion and willingness to be forgiven. Sadly, I usually picture the former. Now, the question is begged, were Conquerors a real knight class? Well, the idea of a knight class in general is a little silly. Knights were nobles. Now, was it possible for a criminal to be given the chance to fight as sort of a, bandit or outlaw or highwayman or someone who could be paid to fight? Sure, that could happen. And maybe that's the whole idea behind what the Conqueror is. I mean, when you look at his design, when you look at the way he fights, it makes a lot of sense to see him that way. He certainly is more cruel than a lot of the other knights. He certainly doesn't seem to have a chivalrous code. But, you know what? Let's go ahead and talk about his arms and armor. In terms of armor, the Conqueror is a tank, wearing a bucket-style pot helmet to cover his whole face, and with plate mail apparently hidden under the cloth, and leather armor. They also seem to have chains and shackles wrapped around their arms to indicate their former criminal status, as mentioned before. And believe it or not, the chains could potentially act as arm guards. This style of armor was typical of crusading knights, after all. But where this all fails for me lies in the weapon, the flail. The flail is a real weapon. It's essentially a small stick or rod with a chain at one end, and on the other end of the short chain is a heavy weighted ball with barbs or studs on it to cause bludgeoning damage. His other weapons is what's called a heater shield. It's a triangular shield that would be probably about the size of a man's torso when worn in front of it. And I'll be honest, the flail would not be a good weapon without that shield. For one thing, it has no practical defensive application. You can't protect yourself with a flail. On the contrary, it's actually incredibly dangerous to the wielder. The flail is uncontrollable after the initial swing, and thus could easily swing or bounce back to do damage to the holder. It's a devastating weapon for sure, but it's incredibly impractical. The shield counterbalances this by adding defenses to his body and by allowing him to block his own flail should he lose control. To get a mental picture of this, imagine you're playing a game of tetherball and you take the ball and swing it as hard as you can. Eventually that ball is going to swing around and possibly bean you in the head. That's essentially the dynamic of what's wrong with the flail. I do not think of it as a very good practical weapon. The shield is the only reason it's practical. Now, this is the default armor of the Conqueror. This is how my Conqueror looks. Gave him some gold plate armor. He's got some more spikes going on. He looks a little bit more evil, I guess. The shield is more ornamented. And look at that freaking helmet. Look at this. I'm going to zoom in on that. He looks like Hannibal Lecter.
I ate his liver with some fava beans and a nice Chianti.
Enough about that. Let's go ahead and see how the Conqueror fights. When it comes to Conqueror, he has one major disadvantage, but it makes sense when considering his weapon. He can't feint out of an attack once he's started it. He's the only hero who can't do this, but like I said before, given what he has to work with, the flail, you really can't control that thing once it gets going. So I think that it fits perfectly. Now he makes up for this though by being able to soft feint into a shield bash. By doing this, you can keep your opponent at a distance, drain them of a little bit of stamina, and with the right perks, you can actually drain a little bit of health. You can continue to do this as long as you have stamina to do it with, and then follow up with a heavy once you're done. Now, once you do the shield bash, it grants a free light. There's no way they can block it once it's done. You can also do a shield bash from a passive stance, and that allows you to break into your combos. Now, he has an infinite light and infinite heavy combo as well, but all will drain stamina. Keep that in mind as you play. He also has a pretty nice infinite zone attack. The zone attack of most heroes is a singular attack, but our buddy Conqueror can do it as long as he has stamina to do it. And I'll show you. Once I start to run out of too much stamina, he'll stop doing it. But it's a great way to keep opponents back, and if you can get a revenge for your Conqueror, it's almost an infinite way to make sure no one can touch you, because while you're doing the zone attack, you have a perfect defense. It's actually really great. Now, the heavies are pretty quick but predictable. Now, the other aspect of the heavies is you can charge a heavy into an unblockable heavy. Of course, it's easily predicted, but sometimes you do get lucky. Now, all of this stuff is great, but what Conqueror's really famous for is his defensive capabilities. Conqueror's great in the defense, no matter where he's very good at being able to waste an opponent's stamina. Notice how with each attack that my brother does, he wastes a great deal of his stamina and I can just continue to play defense. But what defense is complete without a great way to retaliate? This is where Conqueror's most famous ability comes in. This is called full block stance. Notice while in this stance, I can block from any direction without having to change. I can also move in this stance. I have to come out of the stance in order to get my stamina back. But from this stance, I can also do one more little trick that drives people crazy. Behold. This attack is completely undodgeable and unblockable. Anytime someone strikes you while in this stance, you get a free, unblockable, heavy uppercut to the opponent. I can't tell you how many times I've gone up against a Conqueror who I thought I was about to nail when suddenly they drop into that stance immediately and they get sucker punched. And then I get sucker punched and I just lose my mind. Conqueror is great at that, which is one of the reasons why I do enjoy him, but I'll admit I'm really not that great at him. Also, what I like to do is after doing this, I like to follow up with a light because it's usually pretty easy to get them off guard with it. So if I had to offer any advice about Conqueror, it would be this: go fast and furious with your light attacks and pressure your opponent. Many people call Conqueror the light spamming heavy because he has that infinite light that is so hard to stop, so hard to predict. You can keep going forever and ever and ever and drive people crazy. And then when you finally stop that light combo and they try to retaliate, drop into your full block stance to punish them. If you keep this up, you'll drive your opponent crazy. Also, mix in a few dodges, because no matter what direction you dodge, except back, you can do a forward shield bash attack, just like that. The other thing to mention about Conqueror before we go on to the executions is his guard break, which is kind of cool. His guard break will also drain stamina like any other guard break, but again, with the right perks, you can also drain for some health as well. If you ever feel pressured while playing Conqueror, don't worry about it. Shift into your full guard to retaliate or go into your zone attack. The zone attack only comes one way and it's pretty easy to parry once you see it coming, but it's still a good way to keep anybody that's surrounding you at a distance. And trust me, people are going to want to gank up on a Conqueror. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is pretty much how you play Conqueror. Now let's move on to the executions. Alright, so now it's time to grade us some executions. As always, we're looking for if it fits the personality of the character, realistic, and it's not too comical. So let's get started. Spike Punch. I gotta see it again. Hold on. 10 out of 10 for that. Absolutely. Yes. This is what I want. Just beat him senseless. I love that he uses the spike ball to pulverize his face. This works better than the Warden's because I have no doubt this would mutilate his face. This is... Okay. I have no words. I gotta see it again. One more time. It's great. All right. 10 out of 10. Pugilism. 7 out of 10. What works for this one is not the wind-up to the kill. It's the way he blocks that punch. That's funny. There we go. There we go. This part, though, not so much. Not so much. I mean, I'm kind of used to seeing him swing that thing around all the time. And you'll see this with more of his executions, but that kind of swinging wind-up is just par for the course for him. Anything else he can add to it will add points. And just this, he almost... It's almost like, here, let me show you how you really punch. That part gives it more points for me. 7 out of 10. Pharos, what was it? Pharos. 10 out of 10. Look at this. Yes. Oh my gosh. The spin feels fast, it feels awesome, and I love that he uses the shield to defend himself as he brings it around to his front. Watch again. He swings it behind him, and he uses the shield to keep it from hitting himself. Oh, that's great. And notice he's seemingly out of breath at the end. Listen. Look at the way he's kind of breathing heavy. It looks like he wore himself out doing that. That's definitely realistic. Gotta give him points for that. Perfect. And the head is still there. He didn't just decimate it. Points for that too. 10 out of 10. Dislocator. Do it again. 5 out of 10. It's an arm removal. I'm not a huge fan of those. I like it because it's a bit more inventive and shows the vicious and cruel torture-like qualities that I'd expect from Conqueror. But there's some problems with this, like how there's no way that chain wouldn't unravel as he pulled on the arm, and the fact that I doubt it would be that easy to rip off an arm like that anyway. It's not even chopped. But just to give an idea, look, the chain only wraps around it once, unless he traps the ball under his armpit. As soon as he starts pulling, that chain's gonna come off. It's just gonna unravel itself. Nah, not a big fan. Modified Hangman. Oh, this one. I'll give it an 8 out of 10. Okay, I like this one. Will calls it walking the dog because it's like he's walking him, like, come on, let's go for a walk. You literally take the dude for a short walk and then stop just to pop their top off. And while I doubt it'd be that easy to pop the head off, this one feels a bit more real somehow. Maybe that's just me, but look. One of the annoying things about this execution, though, is if you use it on a non-flat surface or in an odd area on the map, the animation will look a little wonky and it won't look like the chain is fully wrapped around his neck. So, it's not a great one to use all the time. Mongraal's charge. Oh. Yeah. I'll give it a 6 out of 10. I used to really like this one because it was a bit more fluid and kind of creative, as it uses a punch, it uses the flail, and then it uses a shield bash. But the more I look at it, it doesn't look especially deadly. I mean, look at the way he fights in normal gameplay. Look at the way he swings his flail so harsh and fiercely. And then look at this one. It feels weak. I mean, okay, I mean, it's creative and it's fast, but I don't know. I'm not sure that would kill necessarily. Maybe I'm being a bit too harsh. Get off. Ooh. Yeah. This one's a 7 out of 10. I'll give it a solid 7. It's actually kind of awesome. I love that the ball got stuck in the skull. In my opinion, that alone would be a kill shot. But then you just yank the whole head off and drop them off the shield in such a kick-ass move. Sure, it may not be very realistic, but it's becoming clearer and clearer as I do these that I have to give Conqueror some lenience for his executions, or all of them are going to be piss poor. I think that's the big problem with Conquerors. His executions are just kind of so basic. How much can you do with a flail? The concept couldn't be simpler. You swing and you hit something with the other end of it. Get creative, please. As creative as you can. The wind-up. Back to what I was talking about before. What can I say to this one? 5 out of 10. It's just basic. Classic trip of the leg, yanks down, winds with the swing, and then hits him in the face. There's so little to say about it. There's nothing special. It's just, yeah, it's what a flail does. I do like that the dude's begging some before, like, no, don't do it. One more time. No, stop. Dead. Low blow. Oh, right, this one. 7 out of 10. I don't know. I want that nut shot to be more devastating than that. I want to feel the pain. There's some nut shots in the movies or games that when it's done, you feel that in your own groin. This just doesn't quite. Maybe it's because I can tell it's faked, or because it's hitting Warden and I know that there's more protection there. It still fits Conqueror's character very well, as I'm sure he'd have no regard for one's privates. I think what kills this one for me, though, is that last smack. I don't know if that would kill necessarily, but that low blow shot would definitely leave them out of action. So, yeah. One more time. Not bad. Eat dirt. Four out of 10. I guess he broke the spine, maybe? That's the only way I could see this as lethal. I mean, that's the big issue with this one. It's fast, it's unique, but unless he slammed that thing on the head or broke the spine, I don't know if that's deadly necessarily. I mean, judging from the blood, I'm guessing he broke the spine. That's all I can figure, but still. Who knows? Rowdy Sentence. Oh, this is the new one. Believe it or not, in this execution, he says something right before he does that. If it's the male version, he'll say, you should have fled. If it's the female version, she will say, stay still, it'll hurt less. Okay, so I really, really like this one. What do I call it? How about a 9 out of 10? Yeah, that sounds fair. This one's much better, believe it or not. I think that I like it better that he doesn't decapitate. Look at the way the head is just hanging slack like that. Broke the neck. It just looks painful. It looks disgustingly painful, but I love it. This is a much better way to be creative. He's not killing with the flail. He's killing with brutality, and that's what I like to see. Garrote. Oh, this was his basic one. Yeah, I actually like this one. I'll give it a 10 out of 10 because it's probably one of the more creative ways to kill with that flail. And he's not popping the top off. He's just choking him out. It's fast, it's creative, and it's kind of badass. Yeah, 10 out of 10. Pop top. 5 out of 10. Just basic, simple. At the very least, you could have gone for comedy by popping that thing off like Pop Goes the Weasel, just send that head flying, but for what it is, it's popping the top. The Gut Punch Neckbreaker. Okay. 7 out of 10. I'll give it a 7. It's not bad. The gut shot is alright, but nothing amazing. What I like, though, is the slow shield smash on the neck. I appreciate that they don't decapitate either. That's believable. Pretty cool, but not really much else to say about it. Wait, hold on. Go back. Let's look at the perspective from the other guy. Aw, did he decapitate? Ah. I thought that he just broke the neck. No, it looks like he did decapitate. Dang it. Alright, I'm taking points off. That's a 6 out of 10. It would have been better if you just cut off it. Where'd the head even go? It's like it disappeared. Spine twister. Okay, a little better. I mean, nothing amazing, but yeah, a little better. Let's see. I'll give that 8 out of 10. Yeah, 8 out of 10 sounds fair. He just looks disinterested. It's almost like, you bore me. Let me knock you out of the park. The twist is good. He doesn't take the head off, and I kind of like that he kind of turns himself around, you know. Woo, woo, wop. Okay, kind of creative, but again, I can't give it a perfect score because it's just the wind-up kill. I've seen it. Head in the clouds. What more can I say? How many times can I say the same thing? It's just the wind-up. I'm so bored of it. 4 out of 10. Gosh, just... Okay, yeah, it's cool that he knocks him to the ground. Okay. But he did that earlier. And what's worse, where'd the head go? Did he just pulverize it? How strong are you, Conqueror? You need some better creative executions. And that's it, guys. That is all the Conqueror executions. So, what can I finally say about the Conqueror? What are some final notes I can give him? When it comes to the Conqueror, defense really is your best offense. He's cruel, he's vicious, but he has to be vicious at the right time. The best way that I would say to play him is stay back, let your opponent make those wild swings, and once you see them making them, quickly switch into your full guard position. Then punish with the uppercut. I also would recommend that if you're playing on a team in Dominion, you should be the first one to run into a new zone because you can do that really heavy shield bash to clear a way for the rest of your team. Even though I don't have a lot nice to say about a lot of his executions, and even though he may not be my favorite warrior, there are good things about him, and I don't want to trash him too harshly. I'll be doing that later with a different hero. He's alright. He's definitely a B- hero. He's one of those heroes that you have to really appreciate him and what he does to like him. Maybe it's because I've been killed by them so frequently that I've just kind of gotten a bad taste for them in my mouth, but there's nothing wrong with him. He's a good, solid hero. Give him a try if you haven't tried him out yet, and see if you can't find something to love about this insane psychopath. Alright, well that does it for Conqueror, folks. Tune in next time when we talk about the big man himself, the Lawbringer. See you then.